Welcome to Bigger Than You, the podcast to help you go from overwhelm, self-doubt and scarcity in your business to the calm, grounded and unshakably confident version of you that's going to bring your vision to life. You've got a mission and a purpose that's bigger than you and your limiting stories and beliefs. So let's get you out of your own way. I'm Jenna Holloway, your host and multi-award-winning intuitive hypnotherapist and mindset coach. Expect to hear game-changing perspective shifts on how to align your subconscious mind with your boldest goals, and will unlock the power of energetics, infusing it into every aspect of your life and business for maximum impact. Are you ready? Then let's dive in. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me again. Today I have Han Mosby on the show. Please tell me I said that right, Han.
Yes, Han Mosby. Most people say Mosby, so you did that right. Don't worry.
Ooh, I forgot to check before we hit record. Okay, brilliant. So Han Mosby is the founder of SocialHan, which is a marketing agency, and she is passionate about helping more service providers, female service providers, master their visibility and magnetize their marketing to scale their brand, their impact, and their success. Welcome, Hannah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, good. Excited to dive in.
Yeah, brilliant. So you started the company at the start of 2021. Can you just tell us a little bit of background about like who you are, what you did before that? Just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I studied art, actually, fine art at university, and wanted to be a painter. And then essentially COVID hit, lockdown, all of that, everything went virtual, and I had to start showcasing my work on social media, which then led me into marketing it, and basically trying to figure out everything I could know about all of that. And then from that, I got qualified in lots of different things in marketing, and then got a full-time job running marketing for a six-figure female coach, which is why I now specialize in working with coaches, because I've always loved it. And then, yeah, I went full-time in SocialHan October 2022, actually. And I was fully booked within 6 weeks. And it's all sort of snowballed from there and been very busy and amazing. And I've now got a team of 5, which is very exciting, very terrifying. And I actually became a limited company yesterday. So
congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Brilliant. So I'm going to pick Han's brain on a few things, but first of all, she really kind of speaks to the importance of marketing a personal brand. So before we kind of get into that, how do you describe what makes somebody have a personal brand? And yeah, like in your own terms, what are we talking about when we use the phrase personal brand?
So I think a lot of us naturally fall into being a personal brand when we start as a sole trader and then, want to help people as a service provider. And I think the difference between a personal brand and like a regular brand is that you really are that figurehead for your company, and you really lead the way. You become recognizable to your audience, and they're really coming to work with you and your energy and your expertise, rather than like a brand in general. Like when you think of like Coca-Cola or Nike or anything like that, you probably don't think of the CEO of that. You probably think of the logo or, the product. So a personal brand, I think, is really, the way to go when you are a service provider, working with clients on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah. And what do you wish more people knew about getting it right as a personal brand?
Oh, yeah, I know. So many things, but I think the biggest one is oversharing. I don't think you can overshare, and that is just my opinion, my personal like cup of tea when it comes to it. A lot of people worry that you can overshare, or that, if you're having a bad day and you talk about having a bad day, that you'll look unprofessional or people won't buy from you or anything like that. And I think it's the complete opposite. I think the more real you are, the more likely people are to work with you and invest in you. So actually, yeah, I don't think oversharing exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I kind of want to add something to that though, because I think like I've seen people overshare, or I've seen people try and like do the relatable thing and just kind of like put all of their rubbish out on Instagram from a place of like it doesn't feel, I don't know, it doesn't feel like the energy is, oh, I'm just trying to be relatable, so here's everything that I'm going through right now. In a, I don't know, like I just kind of get a vibe of when it's authentic and when it's kind of not. And I think sometimes when we're going through something, depending on what we're talking about, right? But if it's something that's really, really hard, if you're comfortable sharing that as you're going through it, great. But I think and if we're going through something really, really hard and we need space and time to process that first before we share, if it's relevant to our ideal clients, right? I think there's something to be said for giving yourself the time and space to process that before you then go on to speak from a place of embodiment as you share that message to your community who are full of your ideal clients. I definitely I shared two different, like, I'm not explaining this very well, but if I'm going through something that's heavy in my business, I wouldn't necessarily be sharing that here and now to my community, because it's important for me to work through that, and I'll be sharing it with my clients most likely, because they get to see the real behind the scenes of my work. But in terms of processing and then speaking from a place of like fully embodied, this is what I've been through, this is what I've learned from that, I think there is something to be said for having the time and the space to really come at that from a grounded place. But if it's not really relevant to your ideal clients, and it's just, say, for example, like when my girls started school back in September, they're twins, and they, like, it was a roller coaster journey, and I was, fully okay with sharing that kind of thing online, like totally not up for pretending like life is perfect, because it absolutely isn't. And it's about, being okay with that. So yeah, I think, yeah, fully up for being open and like sharing and being authentic online. I'm well on board with that. But yeah, just kind of practicing like discernment, I think, around what we share, if it's something that's really heavy and we actually need space to kind of process that first. Yeah. And then in terms of well, I think I'd like to give it back to you. What else would you say about what you were saying?
Yeah, I think you pointed out something really important there of like trying to be relatable. And I think if you show up for that reason with that perspective, it always comes across as inauthentic. So I definitely think like your motives behind why you're doing what you're doing is so important. And building a community for community's sake will never build a community. You have to want to do it for all the right reasons, otherwise your personal brand will be really like shallow essentially, and not last you a lifetime. But also with the processing, I really like that as well, because there's a lot of, like, not all of my clients are like as extroverted as me as well, and they really struggle with that. But I always like to, obviously everyone's comfortable sharing a different level, a different amount, but I think if you can just keep your audience in the loop with what's going on, even if you need time and space to process, just let them know that like you're going through some stuff, like you're going to step back, or, I'm a big fan of like digital detoxing, turning your phone off, all of that. I think just keeping your audience in the loop rather than disappearing allows you to take that time away guilt-free. Otherwise, you can be like second guessing every day, like whether you've made the right decision as well.
Yeah, and consistency builds trust, doesn't it? And like it's okay to step back and like take the weekend off social media, and then when you next go on stories, you don't need to apologize for the fact that you've been away, or say, "Oh, I'm back." Don't announce that you're back. Just say what you want to say. Like, you just don't need to apologize for it. So
Absolutely.
that's really cool. I love what you said about building a community for the right reasons and really seeing like the big vision of why you're building your brand, where you're going, like really having your why like anchored in. And when we are coming at building our community from that place, how do you teach on building a community? Like how is a good way to do it? What can you share with our listeners?
Yeah, so like I said, I think oversharing, or like I always say I'm an open book, and I'm not sure that everyone is that most open version of themselves through their business, and it can definitely take a while to get there. But I've had, people get on calls with me and they go, oh, you're exactly the same as you were on your stories, and it's like, yeah, like that is one version.
Yeah.
And I think that builds so much trust, is, if you're FaceTiming me as my best friend, catching up with me as my mum, or listening to my reels, it's one version. And that's so important to, yeah, come, be that one that one in what's the word, one empowered, authentic version of yourself across everything, and not try and water yourself down or try and fit in different places that you don't feel comfortable. And yeah, just it all starts with you, community, and that can be terrifying because people think, oh no, it's all on me, it's all on my shoulders. But it is the network you have and the people that you chat to. Who do you recommend to people? Who do you trust that don't provide the same services as you, that you recommend to your clients? And who's recommending you to people? And like all of that network that you build is such a foundational part of your community. And then from that, it's all of the engagement and interaction that you have on top of that. And again, doing that for the right reasons, not engaging for engagement's sake, or worrying about the metrics or anything like that. It's got to be genuine.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And it's so it just like when you come at like if we talk about why you want to be authentic and genuinely yourself, well, so that somebody doesn't jump inside your program and see a completely different version of you, or like your friends are watching your stories and like, that's not her. Like you just want to be yourself, and like from the perspective of what that feels like as somebody who is fully authentic and fully like myself, whether I am like working inside my client programs or showing up on stories, or like being with my mastermind sisters on a date in London just now, or like friend wherever, like I am just me. And what that feels like, just it's just so liberating because you just save so much energy like having to be a different version of you. Like you just none of that is a thing when you can just be happy with who you are, and not worrying about not being everyone's cup of tea. Like that's the thing, like when you're an online service provider, it doesn't matter if you're not everyone's cup of tea, because the people, when you've been for yourself, you attract those real dream clients that love you for who you are, and you naturally repel anybody who isn't like completely vibing with you. So like be more you, 100% be more you, because it's gonna mean that you're gonna love your work even more when people just get you. You don't have to worry about like being unfiltered about the things that you say, because it's okay to be you. And you are like, when you're doing that, you are like a shining light for people. You're the permission slip for other people watching you. When it comes across that you genuinely love yourself and you are fully accepting of who you are and you're happy to show up like that online, then it's just a permission slip for others to be like, cool, I can be myself too.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think I love the permission slip thing. I love that. I never think about it like that, but it does have such an impact. And we follow along these other people. And, I've got probably a handful of people. I watch their stories every day when they show up every single day. And I love it. And I eat it up because I'm just such a fan of theirs. And it's almost like you emotionally invest in these people before you ever actually invest in them. And, it's almost like these people that are posting every day, I know I'm going to work with them at some point. A lot of them are coaches, and I think I will work with you someday. I'm just waiting for the right offer to come out that speaks to me. and enables me to, step forward and like step into their energy and commit to working with them, because I'm already like subscribed to them and everything they are, and I'm sold on who they are as a person, their energy, all of it. So now it's just waiting for the right thing to come out. And I think when you've got almost like fans in your audience like that, when you sell, it becomes so easy, because that community you've got is literally waiting to like eat it out of your hands and like, sink their teeth into it, which
Yeah.
just makes everything so fun with marketing.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, what else can we learn from you about marketing? I know that one of your things to talk about is content that converts. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So content that converts is, it's essentially your content that, like I said, gets people to emotionally connect with you, but then also to financially invest in you. So it's all about warming them up, getting them into your space, getting them to be aware of you. But I always think content bridges the gap between them and you. So it takes them from stranger to sold. And as part of that, it's about meeting them where they're at, addressing their current pain points, and then showing them how there's a better way to do it or a different way to do it that will improve their life. And then linking that to your offers. So taking them from, are you worried that your hashtags aren't working? And then talking them through why hashtags matter. And then, sharing high value information there for them, and then linking that potentially to an offer or service that you have that helps them solve this problem. And that is a really lovely, almost like funnel through a carousel post or through your email copywriting that gets them to, sign up for what you've got and get them to come into your world.
Yeah, it's like you've given them a little bit of the magic, and it's like, okay, if you want more, then here's the offer for you, kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
I love that. And what about you've got selling on Instagram? Are you a fan of selling on stories, or what do you what's your thing to do?
Yes, I love selling on stories. I try and sell on stories near enough every day. And the kind of strategy behind that is rotating your offers. So assigning an offer to a weekday. And if you're in a launch period, sure, you might want to talk about that for multiple days in a row, for a week, 2 weeks. But really just rotating your offers round. And I talk about it like a sushi belt, like in a sushi restaurant. Like you're going to rotate your offers round because there's something for everyone. And, sharing all those different ways that people can work with you or improve their lives with your services and offers. And people will see something that suits them and fits them and it's what they want. And it's just a great way to get more sales in. I think Instagram stories is such a great place for buying because it feels fun. It feels fun to click the button, it feels fun to check it out. It feels fun to see what's going on, and kind of like breadcrumbing your offers in between your personal content is really important as well.
Yeah, not just sell, but show who you are at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what do you wish people like? What do you wish people knew more of? Like, if you could say one thing to just like get people to stop doing in their marketing, what do you wish that was?
I
Or
think
what do you wish they would do more of?
I think holding back, because the amount of like one-to-one calls I have with people, and it's the same conversations we're having, it's the same mindset problems that they have around being visible and being seen and like understanding that. And I know you do a lot of work with subconscious, but it is so much of your subconscious that holds you back. And really addressing that and acknowledging that it is a problem, but it starts with you. It's not your audience, it's not out there, it's not that you've only got 200 followers or like whatever you would typically blame and almost like scapegoat. It's none of that. It's all in your head. And I think there's so much in our head that it's just not true, and it comes from a place of fear and anxiety, especially in business, and it can be so hard to separate what is gut feeling from like, you know, the fear talking basically, and knowing whether you're making the right move or you know, or not. And I've had that recently with hiring more of my team, and I actually now pay my team more than I used to get paid in my full-time job, which blows my mind. And that decision of deciding, okay, I'm going to pay them, like, and I'm going to invest, I'm going to give them more hours, like this is going to happen and it will scale, and trusting that, you know, I was having the best financial month of my life when I made that decision. And yet there was still that part of me, that fear talking, that was like, you've made the wrong move, like wrong call, like you're going to regret that in a year or 6 months, like what have you done? You know, trying to keep you safe and small and protected and all of those things. But you really have to push past that fear. As terrifying as it is at the time, you have to be braver than the fear. And you can start by just being braver for 5 minutes a day, you know, whether it's posting a selfie on your story for the first time, whether it's talking to camera for the first time, whether it's going live for the first time, whatever it is, giving your audience more of you and being more vulnerable. It's what you've got to do to get where you want to be. You've got to push through all the cringe and all the uncomfortable, difficult things to get the results you want to get and move your business forward.
Amen. Amen indeed. Like, you are just the reason that I can be as fully embodied and authentic, and just, you know, do like unedited podcast episodes where I just speak whatever comes in. And sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I trust that it's the right thing that's coming out. The only reason I am where I am today is because I got comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like, I knew that that's the only way to grow fast, is to just get uncomfortable, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So whatever your comfort zone is, just looking for ways, and not just in your business, like in your personal life too. Every single day, look for ways that you can stretch that comfort zone, because like, if you want what you want in your mind's eye, that's the only way to get there. Because if you're not doing it, you are confirming that subconscious fear that, oh, well, it's not safe because you're not doing it. And our subconscious will magnify the risk of something that we're not doing because it sees us hesitating. And so that risk gets magnified and it gets harder and harder to do. Whereas if you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you do that thing that feels a little bit scary, but you channel that fear into excitement instead, because physiologically it's exactly the same thing in the body. You allow yourself to feel excited and nervous rather than just nervous, oh my God, this is going to go wrong. Like, that self-talk is important. And then your brain sees you taking action, and then you're like, okay, cool, well, that wasn't so bad. And notice that self-talk that goes on in your mind as well. So it's always positive. You celebrate your wins, and you just build this momentum of action taking. And then your brain sees it safe over and over and over again. So there's that piece that I wanted to talk about. But the other thing that, where you were talking about, you know, getting an idea and it feels really nerve-wracking, but it's probably a really good idea for you. What we need to do in those moments is listen to, like, tune in with our body, like that idea that's come through. Does it feel exciting? Does it feel expansive? If it does, then go for it. But if it doesn't, if it comes from a place of, oh, I feel like I should do this, or so-and-so has been successful doing this, so I'm going to do that too. Like, if it doesn't light you up and it doesn't feel expansive, then listen to that. Because the ideas that comes through that feel exciting, that feel expansive, even if they're really big and bold, those are the ones that kind of like, and what's that word? Collapse your timeline and get you to where you want to be faster. That intuition is a gift. And the more you listen to it and follow it, the more you'll get to where you want to be. Because it's those ideas, we don't think up great ideas from our conscious mind, they come through from our higher self. And that's seriously, that's like why I created my higher self system, to teach not just my clients, like it's available as a freebie, it's available to anybody. That's how I've got to where I've got in my business, through following that higher self system. And that framework itself was an intuitive download. So yeah, like trust the excitement and let that carry you, and just don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I could literally talk for hours on this. It's my jam, but yeah, it's so true. Like, tell me what kind of things do you see with your clients when they get over like that fear of whatever's holding them back when you mentor them? Like, what kind of results do they see?
Mm, yeah, okay. So I love something you've just said there as well around like following the excitement, because I see that so often with clients when they're like, oh, I should be on TikTok, or I should launch a YouTube channel, or, you know, all that kind of thing. And then I'll say to them, like, how does business feel? Like, what do you want to be doing? They'll go, oh, you know, I really want to start a podcast. And I'm like, let's do it then. Like, stop worrying about what so and so's doing, or like what you think you should be doing, or where you should be present, and follow that excitement. That is so true. And I think when you're someone like, I naturally suffer with anxiety, it can be really hard to differentiate like the butterflies from the terror, basically. But following that excitement, trying it, yeah, I really, really love that. But in terms of my clients and the results they have, you know, there's such small stepping stones that I see happen instantly after our work, which I love. So for example, a couple of weeks ago, I literally sat and spoke with someone for an hour, and we went through everything that they could be more vulnerable about and share, because they really weren't leaning into being a personal brand. And, you know, it was all stock images, and it wasn't the way they wanted it to be. They didn't feel like they had a community, you know, their DMs were dry and all of that sort of stuff. um and I literally said to her, tell me about you, like tell me about you, like we've never met. And she listed like 17 different things of like, oh, well, I love this hobby, and I used to do this at school, and I actually live here, and I've got a cat, but I want to get a dog, and like whatever. And just listed all this stuff to me and told me about her routine and all of it. I said, amazing. You've got 17 things there that you can now share on your stories to humanize you as a brand, humanize, you know, your online presence, to connect. And straight away, she did that. She was sharing consistently every day, and she had, I think it was a 3K booking a couple of days later, off the back of, you know, she'd actually allowed her audience to connect with her. And I call it olive branching when we share those kind of things, giving your audience the ability to connect with you. But my current coach that I'm working with, we actually spoke about like infertility issues that we both had. We spoke about our love for Taylor Swift. We spoke about our love of like purple, and our brands are very similar. We spoke about all these things, and I felt like her friend. Like, we are friends, but I felt like her friend so quickly, and she felt like someone I'd always known, and that trust was so instant. And then as soon as she brought an offer out, that I was like, okay, I need that. I've been waiting for something because I'm a fan of hers. You know, I signed up and I was in her world, and it can be that simple. I don't think I don't think the fear can make it seem so difficult. It can make it seem so complex to get where you want to be. But I really do think just putting more of you into what you do um is the solution to everything, as cliche as it sounds.
Yeah, totally agree. Because people buy you and your energy, not your offer. Like, there's hundreds of people out there doing the same thing as you. What makes you you is you. So be more you, and you allow all those people out there who are your dream clients. They'll allow themselves to connect with you because, like you say, it's an olive branch, isn't it?
Mm.
It's kind of like sort of vision that's sort of come through in the past few months. It's like when you get really clear with your messaging, and when you start to show more of who you are online, it's like suddenly you're no longer speaking to your clients underwater where they can hear this like muffled sound. Suddenly you come up and they can actually hear what you're saying because they're taking notice. They're realizing that they are your ideal client. They didn't realize before because you weren't being specific about it, or you weren't showing up as your true authentic self. So yeah, I think all of that's really, really important, and a good reminder as well. Oops, I think you're frozen. you still there? She's back. The internet dropped out, and yeah, she's back. So I have one more question for you, Han, and that is, congratulations on becoming a limited company, by the way.
Thank you.
And next year, so we're coming towards the end of 2023 now, what are you excited about for your business or life next year?
I have had such a business heavy year in terms of I've completely overworked, and I've really committed to that. And I'm really excited to have more life outside of business. And, I've let go of control in a lot of ways by bringing my team in and having specialists on all these different areas of things that I used to do. So I think actually having more life around that is a really big thing for me. And I want my life and my business to be unrecognizable this time next year, like completely different, because this time last year I was terrified of being able to pay the rent and just making 3k months. And now, well, in a year's time, we could be well over 6 figures and be helping even more people. So yeah, I think I'm excited to have more life whilst also helping more coaches. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. Okay, Han, where can people find you to connect with you and find out more?
So I hang out mainly on Instagram, so people can find me there at SocialHan. And then yeah, my website if you need help with marketing or yeah, that's kind of it. I'm just mainly on Instagram or my emails. So
okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. We will put those in the show notes. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you all next week, everybody. Thanks, Han. Thank you for listening to the Bigger Than You podcast with your host, Jenna Holloway. If this episode has been valuable to you, please share it with a friend or leave a review.